Imagine a time when the only limits to brutality in warfare were the limits of human imagination. Now picture an era where the absence of rules and regulations gave birth to some of the most savage and brutal killing techniques known to mankind. This was the harsh reality of ancient warfare, a time when survival meant not only defeating, but utterly destroying your enemies. Join us as we journey back in time to explore the top 10 brutal ancient killing techniques. Starting our countdown at number 10, we encounter the Scythians, notorious for their scalping technique. The Scythians, a nomadic warrior culture that thrived from the 9th century BC to the 4th century AD, were known for their brutal and terrifying scalping method. This technique involved cutting off the skin from the top of an enemy's skull. It was not simply a method of killing, but a ritualistic practice, deeply ingrained in their culture. Scalps became a symbol of prowess, a badge of honor for Scythian warriors, and a stark warning to their adversaries. The sight of a Scythian warrior brandishing a scalp must have been a bone-chilling spectacle, instilling terror in the hearts of their enemies. This practice wasn't just about taking lives, it was about sending a message. The Scythians were not to be trifled with. A grim testament to the Scythians' ferocity, this technique surely sets the tone for our countdown. At number 9, we find a brutal technique from within the ranks of the Roman army, decimation. This was not a battle strategy against enemies, but a form of military discipline used by Roman commanders to punish units or large groups guilty of capital offenses such as mutiny or desertion. The process was as simple as it was horrifying. The guilty soldiers were divided into groups of 10. Each group drew lots, and the unlucky one, the one who drew the shortest straw, was clubbed or stoned to death by his 9 comrades. This practice was intended to reinforce obedience and cohesion within the ranks through fear and intimidation. Yet the impact on morale was complex. While it did instill fear, it could also breed resentment and further disobedience. Decimation was a double-edged sword, a harsh reminder of the price of failure in the Roman military machine. A chilling reminder that in ancient warfare, the enemy was not always on the other side. Coming in at number 8, we delve into the gruesome Celtic practice of headhunting. Now, when we say headhunting, your mind might wander to the jungles of Borneo, but this brutal tradition was very much a part of the Celtic warrior code. These fierce fighters believed the head was the seat of the soul, and so collecting the heads of their enemies was not only a show of strength, but also a way to seize their spiritual power. Each head taken in battle was seen as a trophy, a testament to the courage and skill of the Celtic warrior who claimed it. These heads would often be displayed proudly, hung around the necks of the warriors or adorned on their horses, serving as chilling reminders of the fate that awaited those who dared to cross them, a practice that turned warfare into a chilling display of power and dominance. At number 7, we explore the ruthless tactics of the Persian immortals. The immortals, an elite force of 10,000 warriors, were the backbone of the Persian Empire's military might. Known for their discipline and relentless pursuit of victory, they used a variety of brutal tactics to conquer their enemies. Among these, the immortals would frequently use psychological warfare, creating an illusion of their never-ending numbers. Whenever a soldier was killed or wounded, he was immediately replaced, maintaining their numbers at a constant 10,000, thus the name Immortals. This psychological tactic demoralized enemies, making them believe they were fighting an unbeatable force. Their method of close-quarter combat was equally brutal. The Immortals were masters of the short spear and the composite bow, using them with deadly efficiency. They were known for their unyielding advance, pushing relentlessly until the enemy lines were broken and chaos ensued, the Persian Immortals leaving an indelible mark on the annals of ancient warfare. Halfway through our countdown at number 6, we encounter the chilling Assyrian practice of flaying. This was a method of execution where the skin was systematically removed from the body, often while the victim was still alive. The purpose? It served as both a means of punishment and a deterrent to others. The process was as calculated as it was brutal. It started with the victim being securely bound, unable to resist or escape. Then, with disturbing precision, the Assyrian executioner would begin to peel away the skin, layer by layer. The sheer sight was enough to instill terror in the hearts of their enemies. But it wasn't just about the physical act. The psychological impact was equally potent. The threat of such a gruesome fate was often enough to quell any thoughts of rebellion against the formidable Assyrian Empire. A grisly technique that cemented the Assyrians' reputation as one of the most feared ancient civilizations. At number 5, we find one of the most debated and gruesome Viking execution methods, the blood eagle. This chilling technique is steeped in controversy, with some historians arguing it's more myth than reality. Yet, the sagas tell a different story, one of unimaginable cruelty. The blood eagle, as the name suggests, was purportedly a ritualistic method of execution designed to mimic the wings of an eagle. According to the sagas, the victim's back was cut open, the ribs severed from the spine and then splayed outwards. The lungs were then pulled through this gruesome display, creating a macabre set of wings. The purpose of this horrific spectacle? Allegedly, it was a test of endurance, a way to prove the victim's courage in the face of death. If they endured without screaming, they were promised a place in Valhalla, the Viking paradise. Whether myth or reality, the blood eagle remains a haunting symbol of Viking brutality. Number 4 brings us to the Far East, with the Chinese practice of death by 1,000 cuts. This gruesome method, known as lingqi, was more than just a physical punishment. It was a deeply psychological one, designed to inflict maximum suffering not only on the victim, but also on those who witnessed it. The process was chillingly meticulous. The executioner would make hundreds, even thousands of shallow cuts all over the victim's body, prolonging the agony over hours, even days. The purpose? To slowly strip away the individual's life force, piece by piece. But lingqi was not merely about physical torment. The method was also a form of public humiliation, a demonstration of the power of authority, and a stark warning to others. The spectacle of the drawn-out death was intended to instill fear and obedience among the populace. A slow and torturous end, death by 1,000 cuts was as much about mental agony as physical. Number 3 takes us to the Roman Empire, with the infamous practice of crucifixion. A punishment reserved for the most despised criminals, crucifixion was more than just a method of execution. It was a public display of power and control, designed to instill fear in the hearts of any potential dissidents. The process was excruciating and prolonged. Victims were nailed to a cross and left to hang, their own body weight causing unbearable pain and eventual suffocation. The Romans perfected this technique, often leaving the crucified to suffer for days before succumbing to their fate. The purpose of crucifixion was twofold: to punish the wrongdoer and to deter others from following in their footsteps. But it was also a form of entertainment for the masses, a grotesque spectacle that underscored the harsh reality of life under Roman rule. A method of execution that turned death into a public spectacle of suffering and humiliation. At number 2, we explore the gruesome technique of impalement, most famously used by Vlad the Impaler. This brutal method of execution was both a physical and psychological torment. The victim was forced onto a sharp, often large stake, which was then raised upright. The stake's point was intentionally blunted to avoid a quick death. Instead, the unfortunate individual would suffer for hours, even days. Impalement served a dual purpose. First, it was a form of capital punishment, a death sentence for crimes or defiance against the ruling power. Second, it was a psychological weapon, a clear message to others about the fate that awaited them if they dared to oppose the authority. The sight of impaled bodies left to the elements would instill terror in the hearts of potential rebels or invaders, serving as a deterrent against opposition. This technique was not just about killing, it was about controlling through fear. Impalement, a brutal technique that left victims praying for a swift end. Finally, at number 1, we encounter the most brutal, ancient killing technique, flaying and displaying. This chilling method was not merely about ending a life, but about sending a potent message to all who dared to oppose. The process was as gruesome as it sounds. The victim's skin was meticulously removed, often while they were still alive, a process that could take hours if not days. The purpose was not just to kill, but to inflict the maximum amount of suffering. Once the gruesome task of flaying was complete, the victim's skin was displayed for all to see, a chilling reminder of the price of defiance. This wasn't just a form of punishment, it was a psychological weapon of fear, an explicit warning to others. The sight of a flayed skin, hanging limply, was enough to instill intense fear and ensure obedience. A technique so brutal, it remains a chilling testament to the savagery of ancient warfare. And with that, we conclude our journey through the top 10 brutal ancient killing techniques. From the Scythians' chilling scalping method to the Romans' ruthless decimation and the chilling spectacle of flaying and displaying, we've traversed the grim realities of ancient warfare. It's a stark reminder of the lengths societies have gone to demonstrate power and instill fear. Thank you for joining us on this historical journey. Stay tuned for more fascinating insights into our past.